next Messiah, Dajjal.
Which will be that territory? China? Ready? You think so? Anybody else? Israel, of course. Of course, Israel. The state of Israel has enough nuclear weapons, enough thermonuclear weapons to lay claim to be a superpower already. But in order to be recognized as a ruling power in the world, Israel will have to give a spectacular display. A spectacular display, a dazzling display of its military might, which it has never done so far. All that the world has seen is glimpses of what Israel is capable of doing. But it will have to be a spectacular display of its military power. When it does so, it will have to emerge out of that military event. It will have to emerge as the dominant power in that region, so that all the states in the region in which Israel is located must all submit to Israel. Secondly, when Britain was the ruling power, London was the financial capital of the world. When the United States became the ruling power, Washington was the financial capital of the world, ably assisted by New York. And so if Israel is to become the ruling power in the world, something dramatic has to happen in the monetary system around the world, in the financial system around the world. Something dramatic has to happen, in consequence of which the financial capital of the world will now shift to Jerusalem or to the Jews. What is it that can happen? Oh, I love the Indonesians, because they could understand so quickly, so easily. I don't know, maybe because they eat a lot of nasi, rice. The answer is, the international monetary system is based on fraud, paper money. If I get a chance, I can teach you the subject, but tonight is not the night. But it is fraudulent. The entire world of money is connected to one currency, the US dollar. The Indonesian rupiah can fall, and it will cause ripple effect on neighboring countries and so on, but it wouldn't bring down the world. The Turkish lira could be ready for Salatul Janaza, which is almost what is happening now. Turkish lira. But it would not bring down the world of paper money. But if the US dollar collapses, then it will bring down the entire system. Can the US dollar collapse? Yeah. Is it vulnerable? This is my subject. International, monetary, economics. This is my subject. The answer is yes, but I don't have the time to give you the details. I don't have the time tonight. Something is going to happen which will bring the US dollar crashing down. You don't believe me? If you don't believe me, when it happens, then you will have to believe me. Yes, you will have to believe me on that day. But then you would look like a donkey. Yes. All those who stayed confident that there is integrity in this monetary system. And this money is strong, it will never fall. And Imran is just talking nonsense. On that day, they will look like donkeys when the whole system crashes. Our Prophet has prophesied it. It's there in the hadith. He said the day will come when nothing will be of value, meaning as money, except a dinar and a dirham. And a dinar is not made of paper. A dinar made of gold. The dirham is made of silver. The sunnah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is dinar and dirham. The sunnah of all the prophets of Allah, the sunnah is dinar and dirham, gold and silver coins. We have abandoned the sunnah. We have abandoned Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and we're paying the price for it. The international financial system around the world today is in the control of Jewish bankers and Jewish financiers. If they want to, they can bring the US dollar down today. They can do it. Because Washington has printed too much paper. And there are far more US dollars outside of the United States than there are in the United States. It's entirely fraudulent. If I were to do it, they'd put me in jail. And so two things will have to happen. The financial system will have to collapse, and after that, the Jews will control the finances of the world. And number two, there'll have to be this spectacular display of military power. But when that military attack takes place, Israel will have to be able to argue, we were provoked. We're only trying to defend ourselves. So in order to do this, you have to begin the process with Ariel Sharon going into Masjid al-Aqsa with 1,000 Israeli soldiers in a deliberate act of provocation. He knows what the Palestinians are going to do when he does this. A deliberate act of provocation intended to bring that intifada back to life. And when it comes to life and the killing starts, Israel will have to talk peace on this side, but continue doing pinpoint killings. Every time they kill, every time they assassinate, it is intended to further inflame the passions of the Palestinian people, bring that state of rage. And as the oppression continues to increase, there is going to be an awakening amongst the Arab masses. Egyptian people are going to be very angry. Jordanian people are going to be very angry. So what is the king of Jordan going to do? What is Mubarak going to do? What is the Saudi government going to do? In order to survive, when your people are becoming more and more angry, you're going to have to start making some powerful statements. You see? Like Abdullah just did last week from Saudi Arabia. And Mubarak will now have to speak very hostile against Israel. And perhaps one day even King Abdullah of Jordan will have to start to do the same thing. So as these statements now come out, and maybe you have an Arab Summit conference and so, and the impression is created that the Arabs are closing in now on Israel, the stage is set. Our work perfectly. And now Israel can launch that spectacular military attack. The Israeli people are calling on the government, come on, what are you waiting on? Let's wage war. In the Israeli cabinet they're calling for it. And the government is giving the impression to the world that we are restraining ourselves. We are restraining ourselves. How long will it be before that takes place? I don't think long. That spectacular military display is coming soon. It is my impression that when that happens, it will be the most appropriate time to bring down the international monetary system, which is already fraudulent and already vulnerable. And therefore, that will be the time when Dajjal will move from a day which is a month to a day which is like a week. Israel now emerges as the ruling power in the world. The impression is created that this is the return of the Golden Age. It is only at that time that Dajjal will now appear in a day which is like our day. I assume that he will be the ruler of Israel. And so from Jerusalem he rules the world. And so he's accomplished his mission. And the Golden Age has come back. But Banu Israel will not be able to recognize that they were deceived. It is after this that Imam al-Mahdi emerges. I have this lecture maybe tomorrow. But Imam al-Mahdi will not emerge until the water in the Sea of Galilee is dry. When Imam al-Mahdi emerges, that is that time that Isa alayhi salam will return. And he will kill Dajjal. But Isa alayhi salam cannot return until the water in the Sea of Galilee is dry. How low is the water? Is it drying up? I read the Jerusalem Post every day on the internet in order to monitor the water level in the Sea of Galilee. It is now so low as never before in history, so low, that Israel itself has declared, that is the water engineers, that they expect sometime this summer that the water level will reach so low that the Sea of Galilee can never be restored. It's going to die now. We want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. What's the end going to be like? The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that even if it was the last day, Allah would lengthen that day so that a man from my family, whose name is my name, whose grandfather's name is my, whose father's name is my father's name, namely his name will be Abdullah, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, that man will arise and proclaim himself to be Imam al-Mahdi. That's what the Prophet said. When Dajjal announces that he is the Messiah and deceives many amongst mankind, that will be the time that the Imam will also be born, and the Imam will grow up to be a man, and he will be a well-known Muslim, because the Prophet said, a Muslim ruler will die, and then there will be arguments and disagreements concerning succession. And at that time a man will come out of Medina and hurry to Mecca. When he reaches to Mecca, the people will come out to him and force him to accept the bay'ah. The bay'ah is a political institution which is used to legitimize power and rule over Muslims. When the people take the bay'ah, he will then proclaim and say, I am the Mahdi. I am the Mahdi. When he makes that proclamation, said the Prophet ﷺ, an army will come to attack him. The army will come from the north, from Syria. The earth will open and swallow that army when the army is between Mecca and Medina, between Medina and Mecca.
And when that army swallows, that will be sign number 8. 3 major earthquakes. In fact, I believe that the recent tsunami in Southeast Asia is the first of the 3 earthquakes. The second one should happen in the west, and then the third one will happen in Arabia. After that, Dajjal will now attack the Imam. He comes, said the Prophet ﷺ, from the east. When the confrontation between Dajjal and the Imam takes place, it will be in Damascus. Then, said the Prophet ﷺ, Nabi Isa ﷺ will come down from the sky with his hands resting on the wings of 2 angels in a day which is like our day, and at that time will the true Messiah come down. When he comes down, he'll kill that false Messiah. And after that false Messiah is killed, then Allah will destroy Gog and Magog. And now it's a level battlefield, because the cruise missiles ain't going to work anymore. All the electronic gadgetry will not work anymore once Dajjal is destroyed. And so it's back to conventional warfare. Oh yes, with horses. The Prophet said, when that happens, he said, when you see the black flags coming from the direction of Khorasan, go and join that army.
Even if you have to crawl over ice, go and join that army, even if you have to leave Singapore. Go and join that army. Because Allah's Khalifa, Imam al-Mahdi, is in that army. And no one will be able to stop that army until it reaches Jerusalem. And so now, we don't have time to debate this subject with those who differ with us. We don't have time for them anymore. They can differ with us. They can disbelieve all of this. It doesn't bother us, because we know the countdown has begun. We know it's just a little bit more time when a Muslim army will destroy the state of Israel. The Holy Land will then be liberated. The true followers of Ibrahim alayhi salam will then take control of the Holy Land. The state of Israel of Sulaiman alayhi salam will be restored by Isa alayhi salam. And the Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, he said that Jesus will rule as a just hakim, adil, a just ruler from Jerusalem. And so the prophecy will be fulfilled. And the golden age will be restored. But it is the followers of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam which would have inherited the legacy of Sulaiman alayhi.
Selon